Hey, uh, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us at the November 17th Youth Committee meeting. My name is Cesar and I am the chair of the Youth Committee.
Hi, my name is Brittany Reynoso. I'm a new member.
Yes. Uh, for anyone on Zoom, would you like to introduce yourselves? Sienna, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry.
Hello. Yeah. So we are going to go through our agenda, and for the folks on Zoom, our agenda is going to consist of a roll call, the approval of the minutes, chairperson's report, old business, which are committee goals, new business, which will include the vice chair, the budget, and upcoming speakers and venues, and we'll be adjourning from there. So, we're going to go into a quick roll call. Cesar Tabar Costa, present. Aaron Walker is not present this moment. Brittany Reynoso
Present.
and Nicole Lewis also not present at this time. At this time, we do not have quorum, and therefore, while we can proceed through the agenda, we will be ineligible to vote. So, going through the next item, which is the approval of the committee minutes that we had for September 15th, 2025. I'm going to point out that there is an error in the spelling of Brittany's name, and once we have quorum, I will be making a recommendation to approve with the correction of the spelling of her name. Yes, if there's any other corrections that people would like to note at this time. Okay, so for that, we will have this item tabled
Okay.
until we have quorum. So chairperson's report. Uh, this is our first meeting since the 15th, since of what was it? September. I'm looking at it right here. September 15th. Yes, because of the holiday in October, which was Diwali. And we're also to report that John Yanong is no longer a part of this committee. He was not present at the first meeting, and he has stepped down from the board. What that means now is that this committee has four members on it, myself, you, Karen, and Nicole.
Okay.
And that remains that quorum is still three people.
Okay, good.
So similar to right now, if there's two people that are missing, no voting can occur.
Okay.
That is my chair reports. Old business, our committee goals for 2025. Want to just leave some more space for us to talk about them and to talk about more on that agenda. So Sienna, uh, what we have discussed in part of our committee goals and their outcome is that we're trying to, or first, ensure that we are embodying the goals of civic engagement and participation around education, around accessibility and meeting where the youth where they are, and creating a safe space for youth to participate and engage in. So what that ultimately means is that we're trying to have a youth directory, trying to have two meetings or events where we're receiving youth input on that directory. The directory is to include stuff such as like legal service, after school services, different supports for youth, and just ways that youth can get involved. Increasing youth engagement and civic participation, which also includes on community board eight's committees, which including the youth committee, but could be other committees as well.
Yeah.
And also increasing the number of participants in the summer youth employment program in the region of Community Board 8, so Kingsbridge, Riverdale, Spooten, Dival, Marble Hill, Fieldston. I'm realistically missing some neighborhoods, but yes. And we are going to begin with, yeah, so with the youth directory, I will say that by and this is for us to, we can more externally assign ourselves this of working on the directory so we can have like some form of draft or like just running notes for our next meeting, which will be December 15th.
Okay.
That I'll just put that out there if anyone has any ideas, and also if seeing if again feel for a smaller committee, feel free to engage, interject as you want. But yeah, so upon like those lines of work, which would you want to work more on? Like some, I know Karen had mentioned that she is better at a lot more of the legal, given her experience, so she'll be working on some of the legal components.
For the youth directory part?
Yeah, for youth directory.
So I can do the education part, which I think is extremely important for them. I think for us, we would have to decide how long would this youth directory look like and what exact overall topics are we including in resources for the youth directory. Because I think it's going to be hard to just hit one of everything unless we're looking for like a book of youth directory.
Yeah, so I'll make my suggestion on how I was envisioning this. The way I was envisioning this is more akin to like a QR code.
Okay,
Like we're like like we can have like a formalized document, but a printing out a document, we understand that most people do not read.
And the youth majority use technology,
Yes.
so. But how long are you expecting the youth directories to look like? Is it something where like we have most topics like mental health, education, law support, food support, like food parent, like when they click on it, then it shows like all the resources, like almost like not a dictionary, but kind of like when they look for one thing, then it pops up all the resources for it, or
Yeah, like what, and again, this is like we are building this out together, but one of the ways I was envisioning this is by category and neighborhood,
okay.
because we understand that's, and like we can understand it's like, hey, if someone is in North Riverdale, that it's a lot more difficult for them to receive like if the resources are going to be like in Spooten Dival, that's a trek. If they're in Kingsbridge Heights, that's a trek. So it's like, how do we make sure that these are localized? And we also understand, because of just a history of redlining and disinvestment, that the resources are available in Kingsbridge are because of tax reasons. Like the schools are not, or worse, because of like a lot of that disinvestment, excluding like the specialized high schools. So part of that is how do we create such a way that's like, okay, like we're talking about mental health. It's like here are the mental health in these specific areas, because we know that that's a big topic. If we are talking about like legal, that is something that people will travel to. And for this first roundabout, I think the best thing we should be doing is just putting as many resources as possible.
Okay.
And then like bottlenecking it.
Okay.
So like here's everything that we could find.
And then adding to it when we need to, because it's a QR code and it's done online, it's something that could be edited multiple times.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and because ultimately that's gonna lead us, like once we have things written out, that will lead us to when we're planning or like bigger events and meetings of like, hey, like people said they wanted to see more of these things. Here are those things.
Okay.
Please, but as of right now, it's like let us just get all the information possible, and then be like, okay, like if this, like if someone is looking for, if we see like a lot of opportunities around like volunteering as one thing, because we know a lot of youth will need like service hours. That's a compendium of it right there. If it's like mental health services, here is the list of all the mental health services, legal services, after school programming as well. So just making sure that it's like, And also, it's so we don't know what we don't know. No, so like we could do all this and real, and then when we meet with the youth, they can ask us, "Hey, what about this thing?" And it could be the case. It's like, "Hey, in our community board, we do not have that need for them, or like that's an area of support that we do not have available." So how do we make sure that's like, hey, even though we don't have it, here are those supports.
Where can they get it? It's
Yes,
universal.
but yes, but as of right now, let's say aiming for
Just the most information we can gather.
yes, also information on different topics possible, and then as I mentioned, let's start with this brief right here. We'll, like Karen will double check all the legal
Do you guys want
details.
to have like, maybe we can later on email about what topic does everyone want to work on, and so they can bring that for the next meeting, so we're already prepared.
Yes, yes, like stuff like that we can do. 'Cause it's not like really, it's quote unquote not like agenda setting, decision making. It is, hey, this is what people are working on.
So before you.
And that email will go out today or tomorrow. Uh, excuse me, CM. We want to get your feedback because I see that here I sort of short 1582. So, in your experience, what are some of the topics that you've seen as like youth, like supports that you see like, hey, more youth should meet these, including yourself?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Uh, so yeah, so as we are creating this directory, we want to make sure that we have different resources for youth, and particularly looking at this youth of multiple ages. What in your like in your experiences would you say is like, hey, these are good resources that we should be highlighting in this, whether it's like after should we be looking more like after school programs, mental health, food, what do you think were like those?
I think like more after school programs.
After school programs? Thank you. And you mind telling us a little bit about Troop 1582? Well, sure.
In Troop 1582, we are a Girl Scout troop, and we do a lot of activities working for like badges, and like we do a lot of like volunteering.
No. Oh yes, thank you. Thank you ever so much. But yes, but definitely. Yeah, just hearing that, it's like definitely like how we look at after school programming and then also like divide it up because it's like, KTC, MMCC, both those have after school programming. Wave Hill has like different type of after school programming with like research. So just even highlighting those, it's like here's like the resources that are available, and then like with regards to after school programming, here's a little bit about it.
Okay, so that's something, okay, so after school programs, so we'd have to get those from the following community centers that they have.
Yeah,
Okay, after school programs. And I know that's for the youth directory, but like, um, so I was thinking, so part of it is increasing the youth engagement within civic participation, for the community board.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about like part of our two events, connecting with the youth, sharing some information, as well as being able to see what do they need and also giving them more information regarding the community board, and our specific committee. Um, Sienna, quick question. What do you feel like would help you guys join more or participate within the youth committee? Like, maybe like recommendation letters for schools and or like colleges for volunteer credits? Like, is there anything specific that you think that would help push the youth further into joining a community board?
I feel like if it's like volunteer hours, because a lot of people need them to like graduate. So
Mhm.
like volunteer hours are good for like school.
help.
For volunteer hours.
Yes, and that I'm pretty sure we can give. I know we've for economic development have signed on for folks when they needed certain requirements for attending committees. And as we saw at the last meeting, there were folks that attended because of class.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, uh, so volunteer hours are something that should be possible,
Mm-hmm.
and that is you can always feel free to email me at CAESAR. Just make sure I got my email. Yeah, CAESARBXO8 at gmail.com with any of the specific paperwork or logistics that folks need. But that's one way of like, hey, youth engagement, if they're getting
Yeah,
the
hopefully.
volunteer hours for it. And then also that helps us get more feedback of like, hey, like, here's how we should be doing our stuff. It's like we
Yeah.
know that certain schools have certain requirements getting
Mhm.
to share out
Mm-hmm.
how like these are happening.
It might be good because if we start to get more students, hopefully they're able to share that with their other fellow classmates as well as their own school. And that might be something that maybe within the school can share if we get a lot of their students. Where this could be like an annual yearly thing, where it's like, hey, we have a couple recommendations if you guys are looking for volunteer work to complete this specific class, go to this committee. They will help in that or aid in that. So I think that might be really good to be able to get them. I was also thinking of, so I'm gonna share it for the for the next meeting, so I'm able to show it online, but like a nice, not a directory, because a directory is extremely more detailed and more resourceful, more like a quick brochure that any youth age group is able to mainly read as well as have lots of pictures, but also have quick resources and a little bit more information regarding the volunteer work that we're offering. I think this might be something that's essential for, them to share amongst themselves and for us to share at events and even at schools if they allow us to, because this might make a great partnership. What do you think? Anyone?
Slash also with the tree.
Mhm.
Do want to highlight that for most communications, those do have to be shown to Farrell first,
Okay.
and we found it out in the Economic Development Committee because we are suggesting the conversation of a sub or special committee on technology slash communications was brought up, and the because everything is like governmental, they do have to be overseen.
Okay,
So
before
yes,
we request if we wanted to partner with the schools.
before stuff gets printed,
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
yeah,
Okay.
like the brochure wise,
Mhm.
it's like, hey, we could design it, and as long as fair is like checks,
Okay, perfect.
yes, and we can also do like translations as well.
Okay.
I can do translation in Spanish for that. Okay, and then that will also transition us to one of these last points on like old business of, well, I'm gonna omit the creating a safe space right now,
Mm-hmm.
because to do that we have to first meet them where they're at,
Mm-hmm.
and then the meeting them at where they're at is a twofold of like meeting them where they're at, like in physical space and in digital space.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the bringing up the trying to create that new committee or making sure that more stuff gets sent to Fair as well. One of the things I am gonna mention, because it is on this call,
Mhm.
is as we are speaking around volunteer hours,
Mhm.
that's what is it, on Sunday, we're gonna have a community leaf cleanup day. On Sunday the 23rd, starting at 11 at West 236th Street between Greystone Avenue and Waldo Avenue. It's also opportunity
Yeah.
for volunteer opportunities, but making sure that we have that pipeline or divine lines of how to make sure that we're engaging folks in all the spaces as needed.
Mhm.
Since we are going to be working on that digital space wise, and then once we can have all the arms, then creating the hey, how to make sure we're meeting GU for the wrap with these events, and also within like the digital space so they understand.
Yeah, I think we might have to like get more into social media because that's a huge
Yeah.
input of the youth, and that's something it seems like this community board is lacking. Like the whole community board is lacking in social media. Like we gotta make a TikTok, Instagram, something sharing a lot of these events to meet them in that digital part.
So just to say on that, there technically is Instagram.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very inactive. I saw some of the social medias that we do have. And I think Farah runs the social media part. Um,
And we
we,
can give her support.
yeah, we need a revamping of how it looks, what's put on, um, music, it needs a complete revamping. And I think we need our own social media for youth committee because we're targeting specifically the youth. We're not targeting any outside of that. So I think that's something that we completely need on our own, being that that's the most targeted group is in social media for the youth. So I think, we definitely need social media. Um,
Yeah. So let's start with the revamping of the page we do have
yeah.
first, because again, all media has to be gone through fair first, regardless.
Mhm.
Since that's the youth directory, and as part of new business, we'll talk a bit about the meeting events and SYP.
Mhm.
Okay, so moving on to new business, and once. Hello, Jason.
Oh,
Right, I mentioned once Nicole gets here, I'll just go back briefly. So, a couple things that we had on the agenda is for new business is at the so first vice chair. So at the last full board meeting, it was voted upon that, or sorry, not the last full board meeting, the penultimate full board meeting on the at the end of October, it was voted on that we need to have that committees need essentially a vice chair. And what a vice chair does is essentially support the chair.
mhm.
And support chair they can do it by like taking notes, they can do it by helping facilitate.
Mhm.
It is not formally defined,
Mhm.
but it is a position that is needed. Additionally, it is to note that just because someone is a vice chair, it automatically does not make them the successor
Mhm.
to the chair, because in theory, everyone should be getting the experience.
Mhm.
But it is more likely that, like, hey, should I not be here, such as on the such as December 15th,
Mhm.
when I will not be here,
Mhm.
that the vice chair will be the person that is
Okay.
stepping in. Given that Nicole is not here, we will not be putting that to a vote at this moment.
Okay.
So, we can have that discussion on should anyone want to be the vice chair
Okay.
a little bit at that moment. Okay. Looking at the budget, so budgets were placed for 2027, and the way that budget works is that between now and essentially the more or less the end of the calendar year,
Mhm.
we'll be looking at what parts of the budget we believe DSNY should be supported in more, and that would be budget recommendations for FY 2028, so it's usually like 2 years out.
Oh,
The
okay.
big one, yeah, the big one that we normally have put recommendations out for has been, why am I blanking? It's SYP,
Okay.
like more increased funding for SYP,
Mhm.
period. Additionally, there are some stuff that will be cross-board that we should be or cross-committee that we should be discussing,
Mhm.
such as if we believe like libraries or like any particular library should receive enhanced funding, we would have to go to that committee, and similarly for parks, try to go to the parks committee for that. Obviously, the overlap in those sentiments is, hey, youth use parks,
Mhm.
libraries are third spaces for youth.
Mhm.
So that is like where the overlap is more evident. And simultaneously, it is not a budget request that we can put.
Mhm.
Yes, it would have to go through the perspective, the committee, for them to raise it to the agency.
Okay.
Yes, and for parks, or for all of these would be like capital and expense. So it's like expense would be like SYP, capital would be like we need this part of the parks bill.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
that is something that we should be for the next couple months be looking at, looking into, and in previous conversations with Deb, who is the
Mhm.
current chair, Deb was actually the one that brought it up. Of hey, there are just things that would have to be the purview of the Parks Department,
Mhm.
even though it is for youth, just because it happens at the park.
Maybe it might be good for us to build the communication between the three committees by, maybe at some point we can come up with an event for them, something we could do a shared meeting where we can advertise to them kind of the reasoning why the youth need the parks, why the youth needs the library, why it's so important, and kind of share those facts and information and see if we can kind of get someone to kind of bid on our side so that they can get more funding for the youth. So coming up with a PowerPoint, coming up with an event that all three of us can share. So you're kind of doing three things in one. Sharing that information, letting them know how important they are to the youth. And hopefully by then, which will be in a couple months, we can already have one of our youth events. So then we could bring some of them to the actual event and maybe
Yeah.
they can speak up.
I was gonna say, even in conjunction, would be hey, like as part of the rectory, just having like the libraries included in that,
Mm-hmm.
the parks included in that, just so it's like, hey, it's like for the committees, it's like we understand that these are youth inhabited spaces,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to make sure that they are represented in the youth directory simultaneously as we do this joint event.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we need y'all to also bat for the youth.
That might be
And
good. So then when we're sharing that information with them, we'll let them know like we'll always add your information to our brochures, to our information.
yeah,
When we're sharing events that's happening, we will also share your events that's happening that you could join and volunteer and partake in. And it'll only build up their amount of people that's going towards them as well as for us.
yeah.
So that might be a good incentive for them.
And I just want to give an example of one of the events that, or one of the items that recently came up that was like technically a youth, or that also was a youth specific item.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple at the penultimate we full board meeting, we voted on new lights for at one of the playgrounds so that Little League can play.
Okay, nice.
That is very much youth and
Mhm.
parks.
Mm-hmm.
And So that's like like when we're saying it's like, oh, like youth specifically, that was like one version. It was like, hey, it's like little leaguers are like young like kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we then are the voice for them or amplifying their voice
Mm-hmm.
in those spaces. And thankfully the youth committee has been very much amplifying those voices, brought it to the full committee, voted on it. Now that goes to the next step, which is bring back to the parks department to get a price.
Okay.
So
Long
yes,
process.
but yes. Uh but yes, but that will be forthcoming. And then moving to future speakers and venues. One of the speakers that's within the next, I'm going to try to highlight as close to the event as possible
Mhm.
is that's not they are DYCD.
DYCD, okay.
Yeah, so DYCD is the agency that's directly affiliated with this department,
Okay.
which probably means I misspoke earlier on the Zoom. So I think I did because I have DSNY written here, which is not correct. DSNY is sanitation. DYCD is the Department of Youth and Community Development. They are the ones that oversee SYEP.
Okay.
So in looking at some of the information, it looks like the application for DYCD opens on January 27th, and normally that would close mid-March.
Okay.
So it would be the goal to have them present in March, or sorry, in January,
Mhm.
because we would normally be meeting before that.
Okay.
I say normally because as as I will explain later, January and February are both holidays for us.
Mhm.
So we would have to find different dates and we will try to get those dates out as soon like I'll talk to Farrah to see which dates would be available instead.
Do you guys think for the event that we're thinking about having where we come to the youth meeting, going to a community center of sort to share information with them, do you think it might be better to meet with them before meeting having the big meeting with DYCD, or you think after um would be a help?
My brain would make the connection of it would be useful after like we meet with DYCD first to talk about SYP,
Mhm.
because then we have like the resources
Okay.
to talk like then when we meet with the youth it's like hey like here's our directory and also here's SYP specific information,
Do you think by January we're gonna have our directory?
or at least like first drafts of it.
Okay.
Yeah, like this is like why it's like a work in progress. So like we'll be having like first drafts for because realistically it's like by the end we should have a more functioning
Mhm.
working document. And I say working document because every year that can change what's open, what's available, what's not. But at least by this first larger meeting, it's like, hey, here's what we've been working on. What do you
Mhm.
think needs to be like what changes, edits, what would you want to see more of that aren't just like cosmetics
Mhm. Mhm.
and yeah, so for me, they have to be like one of the big players and like the hey, like y'all.
Are we able to get them early on in December so we are able to have our first event before the applications even open up? So they already are knowledgeable about what's happening before it actually opens? Like, are they able to set up a meeting for our December one?
I can ask Farrah to see if we can set up if we can set it up for the 15th.
Yeah, just and just so they're able to share it beforehand. And then with that information, we'll be ready before January. And we can vote on like what do we want on our smaller brochure, which would be like a small sample of our directory, just sharing our volunteer opportunities, the benefits, sharing a little bit pieces of information, resources that we would have in our directory for them to just have in their hands, as well as the steps for SYEP. And then we can build up from there. Okay, how did they like that brochure? Did they like the setup? Did they feel like would it be better to have it online? And kind of like, our first event would be kind of just to get a feel of what we should do better. So then when we have our second event, hopefully before March, which would be before the application process closed, we can still kind of promote like, hey, you guys, SYP, get the information, and maybe SYP will be offer some brochures of themselves as well and some other stuff that they have. I don't know if they have like brochures or posters or like how are they getting their information out? That might be a good question to ask them. Like, how are you sharing your information and how can we piggy on that?
Yeah, like in my experience, it's like usually the partnering organization
Mhm.
is the one that is disseminating information.
Ah, okay.
Uh, so yes, and I think that is an
So that might be good, maybe if they're able to meet with us in December before the applications open up. And then maybe in January, we can meet with the previous committees on not just getting the budget, but also for them to work with us on how we can share all the information as one. So that first or second event is a big hit.
yeah.
Full of resources. It's a combined event. The more committees, the more effort we're able to share and spread the information out because it's all hands on deck. It's multiple moving parties.
Yes, I do want to know that we are a month out and usually they want more than a month's
Yeah,
notice.
it's hard.
So that's one part. So I'll also recommend them the January date for either Sienna or Jason, who are on this call. Getting feedback on like either y'all's experiences with folks for SYP
And how
or
we
with
should like kind of like outreach to the youth for getting that information as well.
Ace Pusco. Well, Sienna and or Frank, any perspectives on like SYP?
What does
Would you like to
what does SAP really mean?
SYP, yeah, SYP is the Summer Youth Employment Program, so it is a program for folks 16 to 24, and it's ultimately one of the things where it's like, hey, like youth teen, like upper teenagers will get paid to do work. So if I remember correctly, there is like,
It's a set payment.
yeah, it's a set payment, and if I remember correctly, like technically 14 to 6 to 15 also have a possibility. Do not quote me on that part. I say into the camera.
And I think it's temporary employment.
Yes, it's
So I think it lasts for like a couple months, but it's in multiple areas. So like you're able to work with the courts, you may be able to work
the
with
parks
like
department,
the park department, schools.
community-based organizations,
Yeah.
Kingsburg Chance Community Center usually.
There's a lot of different,
Bronx.
depending on what you're looking for. When you apply, you do the application process, which is something that we'll show hopefully on our brochure at our event. How to apply, what to look for, depending on what you want. That will be able to direct you on a job opportunity. And with that job opportunity, you will get paid, but it is a set payment. So it might be like only 16 an hour, 15 an hour, but at least you get a job and you get an opportunity to try something maybe you haven't been able to try before, and it gets your foot into the door for that job opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
Yes. Okay. So. Just we have everything on the record, that is most of everything on our agenda today. Sienna, is there anything that you would like to say about your troop, slash any upcoming events that you would want people to be at,
Yeah,
Or
maybe
just-
something we could, leave it at people have it.
or just like for anyone, any upcoming events that they have to share?
Change the name.
We have a few events coming up. We do have a camp out coming up next weekend, and we have a volunteering event. We're like
Okay.
selling, or like we're like making wreaths and like selling them to gain money.
Wait, you're making what again?
Wreaths, like Christmas
Okay.
wreaths.
Okay. Are you guys selling it at a specific location or is it something like
We have
where?
an online website, I think, and we also are selling it in front of a church,
Eugene,
St. Eugene's
St. Eugene's
in Yonkers.
in Yonkers.
in
Yonkers.
Yonkers, okay, St. Eugene's. Quick question, are you able to email Caesar all of the information so we're able to share that with others and as well participate?
My mom's.
Yes.
My mom's putting the flyer.
My mom's gonna put the flyer up.
Perfect.
Thank you all.
Mm,
Yes, and
Eugene's.
that can be for the record, again, for the record, my email is CAESARBXO8 @gmail.com. Anything can be shared to us and we'll share with folks on the youth committee and on the board as well. Anything that you want to highlight?
No, I think we spoke about a lot of different things, but also being all in the same concept as one another, not as stuff that seems unrealistic. I think all of these are realistic goals on hitting the events, the meetings, and how they kind of tie into one another as well. So I think everything is on point that we discussed. Just hope we could get it through. Yeah.
Also, sorry, just because I glossed over this, also in looking at upcoming venues, especially looking at next year's, I'll be reaching out to organizations such as Kingsbridge Heights Community Center,
Yeah.
which is located on Kingsbridge Terrace. We're looking at MMCC, which has a location on Broadway between 230. It's the nature building that's right there.
Father,
Yeah, Marble Hill, and we'll be looking at locations in the northern part of the community board as well. So ensuring we are getting feedback from folks in various neighborhoods
okay.
for
so-
in-person events, and should they have the technology at their location, do hybrid.
Okay, yeah, that'd be good.
Okay. So anything else that y'all would like to bring up? Anybody here?
Any questions or concerns that you would like for us to address and or work on?
No, not really. Thank you.
Thank y'all ever so much. And without still without quorum, it is 7:18.
Mm-hmm.
18, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank y'all ever so much for your time.
Thank.
Have a good rest of the day.
Have a good rest. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.